your recovery. Are you getting enough? That is your action step of the day to take today, not tomorrow, not next week. Assess it today and make those tweaks so that you can grow your business powerfully and move forward. Alas, all good things do come to an end, including this show. But the good news is we will be here same time, same station next week. So until then, win today, win this week, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
¿Tiene un carro, camioneta o SUV viejo en su casa? Aunque no funcione y piense que es chatarra, usted puede llamar al número en pantalla y donarlo a Susan G. Komen para ayudar a salvar una vida. Nuestro personal calificado va hasta su domicilio a recogerlo de forma totalmente gratis. La donación de su automóvil, camioneta o SUV viejo ayuda a apoyar a las personas afectadas por el cáncer de mama, así como también al trabajo vital de Komen en investigación, atención al paciente y educación. Necesitamos su ayuda. Tal vez considere que su auto viejo es chatarra o que no vale nada, pero ese auto no deseado es importante para que Susan G. Komen continúe ayudando a las personas con cáncer de mama. Llame al número en pantalla hoy. Iremos a recoger su auto rápidamente. También recibirá una deducción de impuestos por su donación caritativa. Ayúdenos a ayudar. Llame ya.
The key, in my opinion, is to upskill yourself so that like I was doing, like, let's try to be valuable enough to where I don't get obliterated by it. One of the oldest sayings in the AI space is that AI is not going to take your job, but people using AI will take your job. There's always going to be people who need problems solved. And if you can help people solve problems, you've got a business.
Our guest today is a serial entrepreneur. With over 20 years, he has started and bought businesses with a focus on growth and marketing. In 2014, he launched the podcast, Bin Wrapped Business. Amazing name, by the way, which is over 270 episodes. His mission is to empower innovation to enrich the human experience. He believes that AI, when used wisely, has the potential to democratize opportunities, enhance operational efficiency, and foster an environment where creativity and innovation flourish. We're all about innovation here. And that's why he named his newest venture, AccelerateIntelligence.ai. Welcome to Innovate and Overcome, Brad Costanza. Thanks so much, man. Happy to have you here. This is amazing. I've been looking forward to this for a while because we met through Strategic Coach at CoachCon. Yep. And we just had an amazing conversation about all the incredible amplification that's taking place, especially for entrepreneurs around AI. We're going to get into that. We're going to spend a lot of time on that actually today on this show. But I want to rewind the tape a little bit. 20 years in business, you've had a few ups and downs like most people have. But before we hit the record button, you were talking about there's been a few experiences where really everything was up and then suddenly everything was down and you had to almost restart from scratch. Walk us through what transpired where you've experienced that in the past, because it sounds like, you know, with the market, the economy, things can get in the way of a well-planned life.
Yeah, you're right. And, you know, I didn't almost had to start from scratch. I mean, I had to start from scratch, at least financially. So, you know, in the past, I even say more than 20 years, like 20 years in the kind of the stuff I've been doing now. But the first time I've lost everything I've got twice in my life through bad investments. Now, when I say everything I've got, I don't mean I lost my house, I lost everything. I mean, I lost all my liquid investment assets. I went from having 6 figures in the bank to being either zero or in debt. And the first time that happened, I was, it was back in 2000, and I had, you know, I graduated with a degree in finance and economics, and probably my second job out of college, I was a financial advisor for Prudential Securities, and I was, you know, I was selling stocks and bonds and allocating portfolios. And back in like 98, 99 was the big bull market of tech. Like that was with the dot-com boom, et cetera. And everybody felt like a genius. You throw a dart at a board, stock goes up, buy Cisco at any price, you know, everything was rocking and rolling. And at the time, you know, they also say easy money, you know, easy come, easy go. So my dad had saved a bunch of money for my college. So I was fortunate to not have to take out loans, etc. And then so when I got out of college, when I was about 25 years old, my dad gave me the money. It was like not a trust fund. It was just saving it there. And it was about I think he gave me like $98,000 when I was about 25,
Wow.
26 years old. And I was like, this is amazing. I felt like Richie Rich with the silver spoon. You know, my parents are wealthy, but upper middle class. And here I was in my mid 20s, starting off with $100,000. And I was a financial advisor. So obviously I'm really wise. Well, there's this thing called margin. And making money was way too easy back in the dot-com days in 99. And I was like, oh, little margin here, a little margin there, a little more margin here, a little more margin there. Pretty soon, like I was having these months where it was just barn burning months. And I was like, this is amazing. And I didn't realize that I was pretty much fully margined out because I just got carried away. And I'm the guy who should have known better. And then in March of 2000, when the cracks started to occur and everything started to fall apart and things started to drop, along with my stomach, I just started to see my my portfolio start to evaporate, get margin call after margin call after margin call, hoping it was going to come back because it went way down. And I was like, oh, it's going to bounce. And it never bounced. I mean, it did bounce after it.
There wasn't a dead cat at the end of the bounce like they talked.
No, the dead cat was my bank account. So it was, I got wiped out. That that 90/80 had given me, it turned it into like 125, like really quickly, and then it got decimated just within months. I was like, wait a minute, now I've got zero, barely enough to pay my rent, and had to go into some credit card debt, maybe about another 16,000 in credit card debt. And that was I was in my late 20s, and that was a big, that's a big blow. Going, what the hell? Did I just ruin my life? Like I was set for life. Like had I grown that, that $100,000 at that age, I would have been set for life if I would have done it strategically. And so there was a lot of me beating myself up, and I'm never going to make this mistake again. But lo and behold, I kind of did. Although it wasn't because I was being as reckless. So lost everything there. Just pulled myself up my bootstraps, got very austere, just, started saving money, etc. But I've never been the type, like, I think one of my strengths as a human is resilience, is I can look back at what happened and I can dwell on it, or I can say, well, that didn't work. What's next? And I've got a very good ability to just kind of put stuff behind me and focus on the next piece. And so I want to say it was in 2004, 2003, 2004, I saw people flipping houses. And this was like the heydays of flipping houses. Right? Interest rates had gone way down. And I was like, oh, I'm going to start flipping some houses. So I bought an information product online about how to flip houses. And I got about halfway into it, and I stumbled across a guy who was in foreclosure, and he had 3 houses in foreclosure. And I was like, I got introduced to him through a mutual friend. I reached out and I said, hey, I'd love to buy your houses. And once I was halfway through this book, and I'm negotiating to buy. I ended up buying 2 houses in foreclosure. And I remember thinking, oh crap, okay, this is really good. Like I can make some good money on it, but I still didn't know what I was doing. But I just kind of, I like to, build the plane while I'm flying it. And it ended up working out. A lot of trial and error. It's funny, I ended up making about $125,000 in these 2 houses in profit. Took me about a year to do. Called my dad, come help me rehab these. I probably could have made another $50,000 to $80,000 if I actually knew what I was doing and wasn't just making a lot of mistakes. But I was like, hey, look, I'm back. I made this money again. Now I got like $125,000. And it was, it had only been about 4 years after I lost everything. So that was a pretty good jump back. Then I worked, so that was a win. But then I worked down the hall from a company. It was an oil and gas company. And I got to know them pretty well. And they were talking about a new natural gas drilling project or 2 they had. And I was like, well, let me look at this. And I started looking at it. And I was like, all right, this is pretty interesting. I think there could be some money here. I went to my dad. I said, hey, Dad, look at this. And he goes, son, run, don't walk. Do not do this. But I was a little stubborn. I was like, you didn't even look at the deal. You didn't even look at it. Like I knew he had invested in oil and gas before, but I was like, man, he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm going to do it anyway. And so, a little $25,000 investment here, and then another well was like another 25. And one of the things I didn't realize was that in this kind of an investment, they have cash calls where something goes wrong with the well, they need more money, that, hey, we're going to need another 10,000. And if you don't put it in, it's not optional. You don't get diluted. You lose your investment. You have to participate or you're out. So it's like being pot committed in poker. And all of a sudden, this got up to about $105,000 invested in these two wells now. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. But there was still hope they were going to work out until there wasn't. And then they went kaput. And that $105,000 evaporated again. And it was pretty much all I may have had another like $5,000 or $10,000 in the bank. But prior to that, I had like 105 or something. So now here I was about 5 years later, starting back over again. And, that really takes a toll on your ego. You really feel stupid at that point. Like, how many times am I going to do this? It's like, all right, let's figure out what's next. And, luckily, like those two things did make a big impact, because then whenever I invest in stuff, I started to invest in me. I started to say, I'm going to invest in my skill sets. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to get coaching. I'm going to find the right experts to take me through this. I'm not just going to throw money at something else, hoping that it makes me a bunch of money. And then the crypto bull market of 2020. So the last one I did, now this was a little different in the fact that I had a lot more money, my wife and I, at this point, to invest. And I started really studying Bitcoin and altcoins and crypto and all this. And I started to go, toe in and then go bigger and bigger. The more I started to see it, the more it started to make money. And in a crypto bull market, if anybody's ever participated, there is no ride more fun if you're on this ride than, these pumps where I was making like $50,000 overnight. And that's only with a few $100,000 invested, right? So I'd never seen returns like this. So I started putting more in and more in and more in. And I kept on telling myself, I'm doing it conservatively. I'm not going to get screwed. I'm not margin. I'm going to be okay. And by November of 2021, I looked at my account and I was in profit $1 million off of about, $400,000 investment. And so I was $1 million in profit. 6 months later, $1 million in profit has evaporated, and I lost about $250,000 in principal. And it was one of those moments like, you got to be kidding me. Three times this happened. But still, I refused to quit, and I refused to look in the rearview mirror outside of learning lessons. In that time, I've built a lot of that money back. Primarily, like in the crypto side, just primarily through dumping it back all just into Bitcoin and nothing else. But that's another topic. But yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. These are mistakes that should have maybe ruined me, or could ruin somebody else, even psychologically, which is some of the harm you can take. It is the biggest harm you can take, psychologically. It just puts you on your heels, afraid to take any risks. But once more, I guess that delusional optimism that's so important for an entrepreneur kicks in, and I just try to be a little more careful the next time. And one of these days, I might even learn my lesson. We'll see, but I'll let you know if it happens.
Well, I really appreciate, the context of, like you say, if you only have $100 and you lose $100, I mean, it's a big deal. And I mean, it's how you put food on the table the next day. Whereas if you still have some capital left, you took the loss, but you still have something available. You can recover a little bit easier.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse, and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you. Call 800-749-7781. That's 800-749-7781. Call now.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now, you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
Welcome back to Innovate and Overcome. We're here with Jason Lowe, the founder and CEO of Ascendant Financial. Thinking about your experience, one of your next major challenges, Jay, happened from at least my understanding of your incredible story is having an opportunity to be transitioned out from the Staples organization to another well-known organization, and being able to move into an international work assignment, going from small town kid in Ontario to big city Edmonton, Alberta, to now having an opportunity to move all the way down to Tampa, Florida. So how did that materialize for you, and what was that challenge like, being able to say, okay, I'm presented with this amazing opportunity. How do I even weigh these options to make the decision that I'm going to go and literally leave my country, leave everything that I know, and move lock, stock, and barrel someplace else?
Well, when I was recruited by Dell, which most viewers and listeners would be quite familiar with that organization, wonderful company, great company to work for, amazing, leadership development program there, bar none. And I had an opportunity to move internationally, and I was given a choice of a few different locations, and I selected basically my route to visit these three locations. I wanted to visit the location that was struggling the most first, and there was intention behind that, and I'll share with everyone what that is. So when I arrived in Tampa, I'll never forget it ever. So I get there, and there's an armed security guard for people to get into this, office space, which I found to be a little bit bizarre, but I thought, okay. And he hands me this visitor badge. And I asked him, I said, well, how do I get my hands on one that has my photograph on it? And he said, well, you actually have to be employed directly here on site to be able to do that. And I said, well, would you humor me? I'll keep the visitor badge on. That's what I'll scan in and out of the building with. But can I get a photo card? Just humor me. I'll give it back to you before I leave. Got my word. He goes, yeah, of course. Come on in. So we get this photo card, and I tuck it into my pocket, my pant pocket. And then I met with the team, and there were 65 plus people there at the time. And the metrics were not good for that location at all. And they were providing commercial support to customers. And I met with the whole team, and I said, look, I've traveled all the way here from Canada. Rebecca and I, my girlfriend at the time, my wife today, I said, we're contemplating relocating, and, moving 2 blocks away from where you live is stressful enough, but going to another country, I said, look, this is a fix or close it scenario, bottom line. and I just need to know that you want to fix it more than I do. And so I connected with the site leader there, and I said, look, take all the time you need to have this conversation with people. Let me know what you decide to do. And so it's probably 20 minutes, half an hour went by, and the site leader came to get me, and he said, we've decided what we want to do. So I go in the room, and everybody says, we want to fix it. And so, you absolutely certain that you want to do that? And they said, yes, absolutely. And so I stood up and I popped the visitor badge off my belt, and I took the photo badge out of my pocket and I clipped it to my belt, and I said, I'm moving to Tampa. Well, the place just kind of erupted, went nuts. And it was such a special moment because someone believed in them enough to say, not only do I believe that we can achieve great success here, but I'm going to put my address where my mouth is, and I'm literally going to move. So I called my boss at the time and I said, I made up my mind. I'm moving to Tampa. And he said, well, you still had 2 other locations that you were planning to visit. And I said, my mind's made up. And he told me in that moment, he said, you passed the test. And then he hung up on me. And so I knew that being on this executive leadership development program, that I had just passed the test, which I wanted to take on a challenge that I just knew that could be turned around if there was chemistry. I believe that any team that wins at anything, pick your sport, pick your business, pick your niche, whatever it is, the teams that win are the ones that have the best chemistry. And I know how to develop chemistry on a team. And so that began. And by the time I moved back to Canada, when Rebecca and I got pregnant with our firstborn, and my actual entrepreneurial journey began, Tampa was the best performing center in the network. And there were more than 700 employees by the time we were done there. So, and the chemistry was rock solid. And that's credit to the team. Part of my unique ability is I just know how to assemble a group, and a group that has chemistry. And so I'm most proud of them because they were the ones that achieved it. But I'm very blessed to have had that opportunity.
Tell us about becoming your own banker. When did this enter your life, and how did you make the decision that you were going to change everything you were doing to go double down on this incredible concept?
Wow. It takes me back to 2008. And when Rebecca and I had moved back to Canada from Florida, so we, of course, developed some great friendships and acquaintances, and loved, to socialize with folks when we were down there. And one of the folks that I had developed a great relationship with, his name's Matt Lovelady, and he had reached out shortly after I'd moved back, and he had sent an email initially, and he said, hey, we're going to be hosting this event. It's going to be in Las Vegas, and it's a 3-day conference, and we're going to be learning about what I later knew to be the infinite banking concept, this process of becoming your own banker. And so I called Matt and I said, I'm not really sure what conference is going to be all about. And he said, well, Jason, look, what's the worst that can happen? Come down, spend a few days, you'll learn something. I'm going to be learning too, and we can get caught up. And I didn't have the financial resources to go, but determined, to get down there. I attended, and I was one of 2 Canadians in attendance, which was my first, business partner, I guess, if you will. And there were 300 plus people in the room, and we learned about this concept. And so we came back to Canada, and we began to ask every life insurance company that would take a meeting with us. Given that we had no experience with these companies, we had placed no business with them. I wasn't even licensed in the industry at the time. And they were answering and affirming everything that we had learned regarding this amazing concept. And so my wife, Rebecca, and I decided to begin implementing it personally first. And then we began to educate, share the message with people while we were simultaneously right in that journey of learning ourselves and implementing it ourselves. And it wasn't until a few years later that I actually knew of the book titled Becoming Your Own Banker, which was authored by our late mentor, the late R. Nelson Nash. And when I had the opportunity to first meet Nelson, this was in at a sales conference in Michigan. And I walk in the room and I sat down, and right across the road next to me was Nelson. So I recognized him instantly, introduced myself, and you have to remember that he spent the latter part of his life in Birmingham, Alabama. So his accent, his Southern drawl, we had this great conversation. And then he says, where are you from? I said, well, I'm from Canada. And he goes, huh, I'm surprised y'all can speak American. And instantly, when there's chemistry, that was the beginning. That was the domino that tipped over in a multi-year mentoring relationship where we spoke as often as we could. Quite often I would connect with him every week, and he was kind enough and generous enough with his wisdom and his expertise and his time. But this gave rise to getting into business and being an entrepreneur. And maybe your editor can edit this out, but being scared it scared out of me. My first year as an entrepreneur, after covering all expenses and just barely doing that, my net income year one into my entrepreneurial journey was a whopping $186. So while simultaneously looking for a new pair of shorts because I crapped myself looking at those financials, my wife, Rebecca, said something to me that I'll never forget for the rest of my lifetime. And here's part of the overcome. She said to me, she said, Jason, I need you to know, because I was contemplating going back to a corporate life. And she said, Jason, whether you're earning minimum wage at Walmart or you create and earn a fortune, I'm going to love you just the same. Don't sit on your skill. Don't sit on your talent. Get up, get to work. I believe in you. You've got all of our support. And that was a rocket booster, because I never wanted to ever feel like I was letting her down or our children that started coming along. And she just reassured me, hey, it's going to be okay, but don't sit on your talent or your skill. You got to get up and get to work. And it was like, say no more. And whew, I was off to making it, happen. And fast forward now several years later, and we've got a business that operates across North America, and we're very grateful and fulfilled to serve so many people. And it's a business that it's a multi-million dollar business. And it's operated by really, really amazing people who have really strong chemistry. And so I just pinch myself sometimes, because had I not gone to that conference, so I want every viewer and listener, if you're thinking, hey, I've been recently invited to something that might help me, but I don't have the resources to go, find a way to go, because you just don't know what domino is going to tip over for you and where that's going to lead you in your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And I know I've personally felt that similar experience of the tussle mentally and internally of, should I go? Is it the right thing to do? Can we afford it? Like, I'm not really sure. And the more that builds, my experience has been, the more that builds, most likely the more reason I should go.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the CGM Health Hotline now.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you. Call 800-749-7781. That's 800-749-7781. Call now.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
My experience has been the more that builds, most likely the more reason I should go. Because for some reason, what ends up happening is the more, tumultuous sometimes those decisions are, when I actually do end up going, the results and the connections, the context, the people that I meet are often, potentially life-changing type of connections. And so it's always been a worthwhile endeavor for me, despite the usage of MasterCard and Visa in the past to help get it done. So I'm not necessarily advocating that, but
they've also been great business partners.
They've been very good business partners over the years for many an entrepreneur. So now walking through, okay, so you got started, you got up and running, and you're now teaching this concept. I'm coming along for the ride in the process. What happened as you were building the business up? You think you were, things were going really well, doing seminars, regularly meeting people. Something transpired when you were at an event a few years later, and it was almost like you had to hit the pause or the stop button and retool everything. So what transpired there from an entrepreneur's journey?
Oh boy, this is a great story that I hope is really helpful, to folks who are watching and listening. So I was partnered up for 11 years and 7 months. That's not a short period of time. And most partnerships in business, A, don't last that long, and B, don't end well. And I just knew that there was a change where, people were leaving the organization. Chemistry was non-existent. And I was already contemplating, look, it's time for me to move on. And I called Nelson, actually. I spoke to Nelson directly about it. And he said, you already know in your heart of hearts what you want to do, and you just need to do it. And so I was at an event in the US, and one of our Canadian team members that I had just recently hired had shown up to the Canadian office, and that partner had asked that employee to leave the building. Like literally right after the employee just said, "Hey, I just want to say good morning, introduce myself. Here's what I'm here to help Jason with." And so that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And I returned to Canada, and a day later had announced that I was going to be doing something completely different. And without hesitation, the very next thing, that partner said, you need to leave. And everyone who's here with you needs to go too. And so I asked him, are you absolutely sure that this is what you want to do? And he said, yeah. So first phone call I made in the parking lot was to my lawyer. And my lawyer said, you know, when somebody's screwing up like that, there's no sense interrupting them. And so that's what gave birth to Ascendant Financial. And I'll never forget this. I got to tell you this. So when we moved all of our stuff out of an office into a new office, which we acquired in a 3-day time frame from a realtor who spoke to me, heard the same story, and he said, I'm going to move a mountain to get you a space. And he's a client to this day. And Will, if you're out there, we appreciate you. You're amazing. And so we are moving into this new office space. Now, this is in February. And up in Canada in February, when it was about minus 847 degrees.
Celsius, not Fahrenheit.
Yeah. So we move into this new space. And I had a decision in my mind's eye. So for every entrepreneur, pay very close attention to what I'm about to share. I literally sat with myself and I said, look, I've got two choices here. I can write the script of what the next 8 weeks is going to look like and literally hand out direction to all 4 of my team members at the time and say, here's what the next 8 weeks is going to look like. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Or that, so that would have been managing the situation. Or I could have decided to lead the situation. And so fast forward 8 weeks and I sat down with all of our team members, and we were 5 at that point, actually hired someone. And we're sitting around this table and I shared the same story because everyone was saying, we've grown so much. We persevered, like we're in a rhythm now. And we really feel like this is going to blossom into something great and big. And I said, here's the distinction. If I would have managed the past 8 weeks, I would have robbed each and every one of you of the opportunity to grow the way that you have over these past 8 weeks. Well, tears started flowing from team members who felt the impact in that moment because they really took the time to reflect on how far they came just in that 8-week period. Fast forward to today, we operate across North America, gainfully employ incredible people. We have wonderful strategic partners that deliver services to us that help us serve the people better. We've got our employee stock ownership program that's launching on January the 8th, 2025. All of our team members, including our contractors, are going to have an opportunity to have ownership interest in the business. None of that would have happened if I didn't have boundaries that were crossed that triggered me to say, we're going to go and do this differently. And I am going to be the one that is going to build the chemistry in this group. And we're just going to be unstoppable. And so in that moment where I could have caved, we pushed through. Because when I was asked to leave the building, Rich, all my technology, all my access to client records, everything was turned off in an instant. That would have caused most people to cave. You talk about fight or flight. Well, when I felt the fight or flight in that moment, I sprinted into the fight because I was like, there is no way that I'm ever going to be taken down, first of all. And secondly, certainly not this way. And so we persevered. And again, it's credit to my teammates. I give, yourself included, I give all my teammates the credit. For all the folks viewing and listening, you have no idea. Richard showed up in my office one day. I looked like I hadn't slept for 4 months. And he showed up. We were going to brainstorm that day, something that when Richard and I start brainstorming, things in the world change for the better. And so
you better have a decent whiteboard and some decent whiteboard markers.
Big time. So he shows up in the office. He walks into the office and I'm sitting there and he's like, dude, like, have you been sleeping well? And I said, not really. So he kicks the desk and he goes, get up. We're getting to work. And we had one of the best brainstorming sessions I think that we've ever had on a whiteboard that was way too small. And is a day that I'll never forget because he showed up for me in a way that was just remarkable and very impactful for me, because when you're carrying the weight of a bigger future on your shoulders and you're not sleeping well, sometimes it takes a good friend, a confidant, somebody to just kick you and say, snap out of it. Like, And that's what Richard did. And I'm eternally grateful for that.
Well, shooting forward as you think you talk us through the birth of Ascendant Financial and its its expansion.
Yep.
What I think is really helpful for people to learn, Jay, is how the advent and the utilization of technology has helped that growth. And additional challenges have come up along the way. We had this thing called the global pandemic. You may have heard about it in the news. It showed up for a while, a couple of years at least, anyway. That is, if you watched any of the news. And so, what would you want people to know who are watching about the type of business that Ascendant Financial is, and where it was, and how business had been done traditionally, to the way that business is being conducted now? How do you think you should expand on that journey for people to get them some context of how technology has been a huge innovation?
Oh, that's such a great question, because in our industry, in the sale and placement of life insurance contracts, everything was manual, paper to pen and manual. And so one of the questions that we asked ourselves very early in the journey of our business was, how can we leverage technology? So if we were to examine any process that is meant to deliver a desired outcome, which is a satisfied client, which of those processes can we leverage technology to either automate or equip us to do faster, better, and cheaper? And if we check the box that this is the process that we can automate or leverage technology for, and we choose not to do it, well, we're just holding the whole organization back. And so this was a very lengthy exercise for us. And then we found the right who that possessed the capability to help us get that technology in place. And then we began to innovate by optimizing and process engineering and continuing to expand the utilization of technology. But it all began with the question, are there any disadvantages to us leveraging technology for one or more of these processes to deliver the desired outcome? And that came from part of my process engineering background and my responsibilities with Dell. We were very big on that. Everything had to be process engineered. And so that I brought that experience with me from a corporate career into an entrepreneurial journey. And fast forward to today, we have a very robust sales and marketing automation platform to which we receive compliments regularly from fellow entrepreneurs to say, you're dialed in, like really dialed in from a sales and marketing automation perspective. And again, that's all credit to having the right who's that possess the capabilities to get the house done.
Well, and even beyond that, just the experience of transitioning, as it were, to a a virtual meeting space. And
Oh, yeah.
I know for myself, I adopted that a little bit earlier maybe than the average bear, because I always felt that I wanted to be, for lack of better terms, we'll call it location independent.
Yeah.
And but what really forced that is the COVID. And it wasn't just certainly for our business, it was for globally, because businesses had to make those adjustments. And to some degree, people certainly have gone back to environments where they're working in offices and so on. But when it comes to meeting and working with clients, there's a lot of people who only wanted that knee-to-knee, face-to-face environment. And now in the world today, it's a lot more common, and it's more acceptable to be able to have meetings on a virtual basis. And I know for myself, I mean, I can count on one hand the number of times I've met a client in person in the last like 3 to 5 years. And it hasn't been because I don't want to do that, but there's an efficiency that's created by making sure, they don't have to hop in a car. They don't have to fight traffic. They don't have to come meet me in an office. I don't have to fight traffic. I get to have more time with my kids. They get to have more time with our kids. All of those things, I think, ultimately are designed. Sure, they benefit me as an advisor, helping people implement the process of becoming your own banker, but they also benefit the client because they don't need to give up that time that could otherwise be better spent.
Very true. And when we come back, I want to tell you a COVID related story that I think any entrepreneur watching this is going to benefit from.
Well, we'll do that when we come back.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream. But how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name is Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.
We are back with Jason Lowe. We're learning all about the incredible birth and journey of Ascendant Financial, overcoming some challenges even along the way. Jason, we're talking a little bit about technology and the advent and the implementation of technology and how we've seen that change just in the industry we're in. We went from doing everything pen and paper, and now most of the applications, the signing process, all these things are done digitally, which, you know, it really ramped up in a very short period of time. Certainly across the globe, they've been doing it digitally in different areas, but in Canada, it's really been a voracious rise of that occurrence just in the last 4 to 5 years. So walk me through some of the technology that you see the company using now, some of the direction that you plan on going with the company. And a lot of this really came about during COVID, I think, is when the switch almost flipped. So maybe we just take a walk backwards and look at that moment in time, and as we look forward into our bigger and brighter future.
I could sense that there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of anger in some cases, and for any entrepreneur watching this, whenever you experience either fear or anger, it's usually a result of an absence of control, or you're not getting something that you want is what triggers that. And I remember thinking, okay, how am I going to approach this with our team? And so I brought our team together and I said, look, here's the truth. All progress begins with telling the truth. I don't know what's going to happen, but what I do know is that I'm not in fear and I'm not in anger. And so we have a decision to make as a team, because I want to reassure you that everyone who's employed here today will be employed here today next year. But you have a choice to make. You can choose to advance through this COVID pandemic or retreat, but you can't do both. You got to pick one right now. And everyone on the team was like, we choose to advance. Let's go. And so the business doubled that year, doubled again the year after, and doubled again the year after. We had already done some what we called fire drills, where we took printers and computers and we purposefully sent people home. We said, we need you to do your job from home. And we were doing this all in preparation for what eventually happened. Fast forward to today, and we have AI, we have machine learning. One of our objectives in our business is that every single team member has an AI co-pilot by the end of next year. And that AI co-pilot is going to help that teammate become more efficient in what they're doing. I'm not deploying AI in our companies to replace people's jobs. I'm deploying AI to support the work that people are doing and to free them up to do the work that has the most meaningful impact at a human connection level. Everything that saves us time. Think about what we did with our most recent book. I know the authors of this book. These guys are top shelf guys. Like, they are really, really nice guys. One of them has a TV show. The other guy apparently doesn't know how to get the right shirt size, but they're super nice guys. But anyway,
You can get a copy of that, by the way, at don'tspreadwealth.com if you're interested.
shameless plug. But this book, so the audio version is primarily AI. Like, you yourself recorded your voice and then AI said, let me go ahead and read the rest of the book for you. Did that save you an abundance of time?
Oh, absolutely. And the recordings need to be done in a certain way to be approved by the where you submit audiobooks to be done. So I read the first chapter, they cleaned it up, and it was a bit of an iterative process. And we hired some who's to help us get that done so it could be done properly. Probably would have full days to record that whole book properly with retakes and all the things that were necessary. And so to be able to use AI, and I've had some great comments and feedback from people already from that implementation. I don't know if even people realize that AI read the book to some degree.
So for any entrepreneur, regardless of what business you're in, there are no exceptions. AI serves a purpose in your business. It's all a matter of identifying where can AI best serve your business in the achievement of its bigger future or its vision or its objectives. And getting your team members together and sitting down and having a really thoughtful conversation to say, understanding and acknowledging that we don't want to use AI to replace people in our organization. Where do we see AI being our best co-pilot? Seated right next to us to help us do things faster, better, cheaper, insert whatever efficiency would be helpful to your business. And then the entrepreneur's brain immediately goes to, well, how are we going to integrate AI? How are we going to implement that? I would just encourage any entrepreneur to shift your thinking to who possesses the capability to help our team get the hows done. And there are so many wonderful resources and who's that are building really great businesses, helping entrepreneurs to get that AI integration into their companies. And not one of our businesses is exempt from determining how AI can be a great tool for us to leverage, not to replace people, but to leverage the existing capabilities of our people.
As you're talking that through, Jason, something occurs to me, a memory of a recent experience, really your thought to implement. You serve as an advisor to the board of directors of the Nelson Nash Institute, and myself as a member of the practitioner council. And we had a retreat about a year or so ago where we had taken gobs and gobs of feedback that was all manually filled out on physical pieces of paper. That all got scanned in. We hired someone temporarily to data entry all that information into a Google spreadsheet, and it was all feedback based about what the Nelson Nash Institute practitioners wanted to see the future, what they wanted to see built for them, and all of that information. Then, you were able to compile it and working with ChatGPT and so forth, start asking really good questions. Summarize this, find the themes, find out core elements, pick out all these things so that we could drill things down over 2-3 days of meetings and get really crystal clear on what needed to be done, on what everyone wanted, rather than us all sitting there with 200 pages of flipping over in a boardroom for 4 days talking through, I can't read this guy's writing, and what did he say here, and well, doesn't that match on page like 48 and what that guy was saying? So we went from this really cumbersome, almost frustrating, really intense process to a much more simplified version where we could get right into important discussions about how to move that organization forward at the behest and the direction of the board of directors. And so this is a perfect example of that utilization. And shooting forward, had we done that exercise 2 years previously, we wouldn't have been able to do it that way.
That's right.
That's just the degree of measurement of scale and implementation of technology that's taking place in the modern age.
Yeah, and I would say, in addition to what you described, it's speed of implementation, right? You can move much faster, and those are sort of the buckets in my mind where I think, okay, how can we do this faster, better, cheaper, and still deliver the desired outcome, but just deliver it much better?
When you think forward, which is something you commonly do, I don't imagine there's an hour that goes by in your day where you're not thinking 2 to 3 to 5 years down the road, planning the next greatest decade. Uh, what are some of the things that you're most excited about right now, Jason? That whether it's AI or technology might play a role in, or even just thinking about how the future is progressing, and so what has you excited about the bigger future that you're building today?
My teammates, first and foremost, who have just repeatedly said how excited they are about building our best decade ever. I'm really trying to focus a lot on helping our team members to, rather than always focused on, I'm here and I want to get to there, right? It's always that constant, I need to go from here to there, and it's always up. It's like rethink your thinking and just be there. I'm not quite sure how to articulate it any differently. Be where your feet are and make where your feet are there. Like, stop worrying about the fact that it's always got to be up and up and up and up and up. You're just going to apply a bunch of pressure on yourself. Just be there. Make the impossible possible, so that everyone else who's thinking that what you're up to is impossible, like with Ascendant building $1 billion business, and everyone going, that's impossible. It's like, great. I want you to continue thinking that way, because we made the impossible possible. And we're not thinking from here to there. We're thinking there is already here. And we're just blossoming it. We're just making it an achievable reality. But I get most excited about 16 quarters out from now, 40 quarters out from now. My brain just goes there. And then I look at our existing suite of capability, our existing suite of people, our existing suite of opportunities. And so that'll never stop exciting me personally. And where we're going with technology, and how people are going to be tech enabled in this process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, and their
Not
family
just the
banking
advisors,
system,
but the clients
the
that
clients themselves. Oh my God. That is going to, you've heard the expression, it's going to be a game changer. It's going to be a future changer. Okay. We're not playing a game here. It's going to be a future changer for clients who embrace that technology. And we're going to make it so ridiculously simple to utilize that keeps me awake at night in a very good way, because I'm super excited to see that come to fruition.
Well, that is exciting, and it makes me think about a couple of things that Nelson said. The first one being, it's all about how you think. You identified that very clearly. And it also reminds me of thinking long range, which is one of Nelson's 4 important rules. And he taught us how to learn how to think beyond our own lifespan. We cover some of that in our book, Don't Spread the Wealth. But no one thrives alone. And so we would encourage everyone, be a part of an organization, a community, get surrounded by amazing people. One way you can do that, by the way, is go to wealthonmainstreetcommunity.com. That's wealthonmainstreetcommunity.com. And you can start to get surrounded by people who are looking at implementing better financial habits in the household, and begin to be surrounded by some of the best of the best. Jason, thank you for being on the program today, for sharing what's true for you, your journey, your story, your method of inspiration, and how you're looking at things in a future-oriented way. And for those of you, make sure you tune in next week as we continue to unpack the ways that entrepreneurs are innovating and overcoming for tomorrow.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800 367 1753. That's 800 367 1753.
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream. But how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name's Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you?